What is going on, everyone? This is Nick. We're going to do another Nick at Night. We're going to talk about the books we picked up on October 27th, 2021. We got a decent stack of them, so let's get into it. All right, guys, so welcome back. So we are going to do our non-spoiler discussion of the books we picked up this past week. Starting over at Marvel, we are going to open up with Moon Knight from Jed MacKay, continuing this series because so many people seem to be enjoying it. I was a little bit lukewarm on it, and I'm going to keep going with it just because I don't know anything about the character, and I think that I'll just kind of learn as I go about this character. So I'll start with what I did like. What I do like and what I've liked from the beginning, and it's kind of growing more and more on me, is the art style. So the art is really, really nice. I really, really like the shadows. I like how Moon Knight is just glowing in this issue. There's always some real cool kinetic moments in here, just these action scenes, like the light rays. So the use of lighting in this book is really, really awesome. So I do like that. Now, Moon Knight himself, I still don't like the way his personality is portrayed in here. And there's no villain yet. There's just these guys that kind of like enter his life, think they're going to mess him up, and then he just swiftly takes care of them, and then that's it. So we're 4 issues in. We don't really have a true established villain, in my opinion. We have some really killer art that's really growing on me, and the character is still a little obscure to me. I really don't understand who he is or anything like that. So, you know, we're going to keep going with it just because I don't understand the character, and now I'm just curious. I'm curious to know where this story is going to go. We have some cool West Coast Avengers stuff in here. So if you're a longtime reader, a fan of that kind of thing, I think you'll enjoy some of the cameos and stuff that happened in here. And, you know, we just kind of learned that he's just getting beaten down, man. He's getting tired. He's getting beaten down. He's not just, you know, impervious to damage and everything. So, you know, it's an interesting run. We're going to keep going with it just because I'm curious about the character himself. So Moon Knight, Jed MacKay, number 4. Going over to Daredevil. So this is Lockdown Part 5. This is issue number 35 from Zdarsky, and Kaketo's not on the art with this one, which is okay. The art isn't awful. It's actually, you know, it's not bad. I don't like some of the facial expressions and stuff, but coloring is nice. Action scenes are nice. As far as the story goes, it's really about Bullseye trying to attack Elektra in a more personal way. So he's, you know, kind of messing with her mind a little bit. It's very almost... It's like 3 Joker-ish kind of, or not 3 Joker, but Joker War-ish, the way that they do it. And if you read the book, maybe you'll pick up on that a little bit with some of the traps that Bullseye kind of sets up here for Elektra. So we get some really cool appearances from Daredevil and Mary and Kingpin and everybody else. So they're kind of bringing everybody together. It is the last issue of this run, it feels like. And we get some justice served at the end with some cool Avenger cameos and stuff like that. So they did wrap up the run. It wasn't like mind-blowing or completely satisfying, I think, but it was a touch base on everybody. And so, you know, it was decent. I wish the art would be consistent. You know, it's not awful in this book, and it has its moments for sure, but didn't completely blow me away. But we'll see where they go from here, actually. So Daredevil, not awful, but didn't blow me away. Inferno, this is number 2 from Hickman. Got that cool cover here, and I really, really enjoy this one. So not a lot happens in this one. And if you want a complete breakdown, you can go over to the Cerebros channel. Comic Book Herald was on there. They did a great job of breaking this book down, and it was great. So this book, not a lot happens. If you read the first issue and saw the big reveal at the end, I'm a little bit hesitant to even talk about the ending of the first issue, even though it's been a month. So something big happens at the end, and this book basically spends half the issue explaining how it happened. So you could, and it's oversized, so which helps. But, you know, outside of that, we don't have a whole lot of other things going on. So let's start with the art. The art is gorgeous. I really do like that. Some of the faces are a little bit weird in this one, but the coloring is really nice, and the art is extremely passable. So I don't have any big problems with the art. Panels and layouts and everything, it's really nice too. So not worried about the composition of the book itself. The story doesn't really progress that far. Professor X and Magneto kind of get screwed in the last issue a little bit with this big reveal at the end. It explains how it happens in here, and they try to make their move, and it just everything kind of backfires on them. So, you know, it's interesting. And they left a couple things open in here. We don't understand how things or where things are going to be going in here. And I still have my questions about Moira and what her plans are and how they're going to kind of counter this move that was made in the previous book. So I know it's very obscure, the review for this particular issue, because I feel like a lot of people have been anticipating Inferno and just waiting for it and just love Hickman's writing. I don't want to spoil that for you. Just know that this one here is mostly an explainer issue. It's longer. It still reads really well. It's still gorgeous. It answers a few questions, presents a few questions. So yeah, that's all I got on Inferno. All right, so moving over to DC. We only had 3 Marvel books, but we got, a few DC books and a couple themed ones for this time of year. We have Wonder Girl, number 4, Joelle Jones, and Jordi Belair's in the color, and Milo's on the art as well. So the art is gorgeous in this book. I really, really do like it. I can't really tell when art switches around that too much. Here, I really do like the coloring in here, especially is just gorgeous. So Jordi Belair is always really, really good with coloring. And this is another prime example of their ability right here, right? So we have like jungle scenes in here. We have night, rain. We have just bright skies and stuff like that. So the art and everything is really great. Story-wise, it's kind of like a training montage. She kind of gets presented with how her future is going to be, and she has to make a decision. She goes through this training montage. She runs into some other Amazonians, and they kind of, present the kind of like with great power comes great responsibility whole thing. So we have a lot of that in here too. And so not a whole lot happens. It's basically her preparing to kind of transcend, in other words. And we got a really cool, nice little back panel in here, kind of showing her in all her glory, with her armor and everything. So that was kind of cool to finally get to that point. So I'm ready for this book to just take off. I'm ready to go. We're on issue number 4. It was a cool introduction to the character. Yeah, she's cute. She's charming. We need some action in here. We need a clear villain. There's a lot of manipulation probably behind the scenes that they haven't quite flushed out yet. I'm ready for this series to take off. I'm ready for this one to run. Like Moon Knight, essentially. We're getting a lot of, kind of like single issues almost, right? They're not all really connected. Maybe they are high level. But I'm ready for that book just to take off and just go somewhere. And so, not getting too impatient, but it's like issue 4. Let's go, especially when it's like every other week or every month release. So moving over to Robin, number 7 from DC. This is actually from Joshua Williamson. Always get the B covers with Robin. I really, really enjoy those. So we're still on Mortal Kombat Island. Damien's trying to figure this out. He's kind of uncovered the truth behind this whole island. And this book kind of flushes it all out. They kind of go over everything, what the motives are, who the lady is who's organizing this whole thing. Obviously what the motivations are, how she's going to get to that point. So it's his job now to kind of like convince others and survive this tournament. So that's basically the whole theme of this book. The art's really, really good. I like the paneling. There's some really cool ways that they kind of make the paneling different and unique here, which I appreciated. There's lots of little battle scenes in here, which is fun. We got a cool flatline rematch over here too. So I did enjoy all those things. This book was actually, I think this issue, Robin, was probably one of my favorite issues in the past few. So, it started off really, really strong. There was a couple slower ones. This one picks it up. It explains a lot of stuff and kind of pushes the story forward a little bit more. So I appreciated what they did in Robin number 7. Looking forward to the next one. Going over to DC still. This is the last DC book, actually. This is DC versus Vampires. This is issue 1 of 12 from Tynan and Rosenberg and Schmidt. So I don't know how much Tynan actually wrote this book. If you do know, let me know down below in the comments. I think he was at least credited for being a writer on this book. But when I read the book, I didn't hear his voice as much in the text here. And maybe I'm not too perceptive, and maybe I just didn't pick it up, but I didn't really hear his voice like I thought I would. We have essentially a story, obviously, about vampires. They're kind of taking over the world, how they infiltrated the world, things like that. We get some cool kind of shocking moments about who might already be vampires and who isn't, and what they've been able to accomplish so far. So it's an interesting way to kind of introduce this concept into the story here. We get a nice little Batman thing at the very end here, and so how he's going to be involved. And we have the Legion of Doom in here and things like that, the Hall of Justice. So we have a lot of interesting characters that are involved and some surprises here and there. So art-wise, it's not bad at all. I think the art's fairly decent. There's a couple... It looks kind of quick here and there. There's some points at the end with some of the faces and some of the environments that seem like it was just drawn pretty quickly. But towards the front of the book, when they're doing like flashbacks and the coloring is all different, that stuff's all pretty dramatic and kind of in your face, which I thought was really, really cool. So I did enjoy that. But yeah, it's a 12-issue series. I don't remember the release schedule for this one. And I think it's timely, you know, it being the week of Halloween and whatnot. So we'll see. We'll see if Tynan's voice can be heard in this writing at all. And, you know, we'll see where it goes. But that was it for the big two. We are going to go over to some independent books. We're going to start with Aftershock. We only have one comic from Aftershock. This is Cross to Bear. And I apologize. I'm not even going to try to pronounce the names, but Cross to Bear. It was okay. It was okay. So I'm gonna start by saying I don't really enjoy stories set in this time period. It's set in 1889. You know, I don't know when God of Tremors was written, when that story took place, but it's like essentially the same kind of time, or maybe even before. This is like old-timey London, you know, that kind of a feel. So it has, you know, it's mystery. It's guys sneaking around in the shadows, wearing the hats and stuff, carrying little revolvers around. It's like this murder mystery. But then you kind of hear the story does unfold, and you kind of learn about this like secret society kind of a thing, and they're trying to solve some mysteries that they've been unable to solve, and trying to recruit some old help that used to be part of the guild. And so, you know, I didn't really dig this story at all. I was hoping I would. It had like a Knights of the Round Table kind of a feel to it, like descendants of that. And it was okay. Art was interesting. I just don't like the time period. And reading the book, I don't know. I just was trying to work my way through it, I felt like. So not a giant fan of Cross to Bear, which is okay. You know, I always want to try to read new stuff if I can. And but this one just really didn't do it for me. But let me know if it did it for you. And if you're picking up issue number 2, I probably won't. But if you do and it's killer, I want to know about it. I want to see what I missed. Okay. Going over, I'm going to save that one for last. Next one's going to be Harbinger. So this is from Colin Kelly. Let's see. Lansing is on the art, and Rodriguez, Renez. And this is Valiant. This is, I believe, a cover B. Let me look. Nope, this is cover A, but it's a really nice little cover A. And so I picked this one up because it was kind of like superpowered person trying to explore their powers. There's like amnesia involved. So the first thing you're going to notice, I think, going through the first couple pages, is the art is really nice. I really enjoyed the art. I'm going to try to show you some panels here. So we have these awesome colored scenes in here, and we have some real kinetic stuff going on. He's like waving around, showing off some power sets, jumping all over the place. And he can kind of like manifest his armor. It's like this one scene, he kind of like turns bullets almost into water and like makes a suit out of it, and he like bursts up into the air using it to kind of project him upward. It's pretty interesting. So basically we have a guy who has amnesia. He wakes up, he realizes he's like super powered pretty quickly because he can kind of feel it inside of him. And the whole time he's having this narrative with somebody. So it's kind of like recalling the moment when he woke up. So he's having some kind of narrative with somebody. He learns he has powers. He immediately gets tracked down. Everybody seems to know who he is. He's pretty infamous. And it's kind of a story about how he's going to try to remember who he is and how he got there, and, you know, what he's done and who his enemies are and who his friends are. So that was pretty cool. I did enjoy that. The art was the clear winner in this one. The story's not bad, though. The story's not bad. So if you're into books about superhero people trying to learn who they are, and you enjoy some decent art, I would pick this one up and give it a shot. I think I'm going to keep going with this one just because it seems pretty interesting. So yeah, that was kind of a nice surprise this week. It was a little bit of a sleeper. I didn't hear too many people pick this one up. All right, so we are going to go over to Boom Studios and talk about House of Slaughter, issue number 1. Got that sketch cover and as my reader copy, and then I got some other copies as well, just because I like the covers on them and whatnot. So this was an interesting book because I feel like Something Is Killing the Children was an instant success. Everybody seemed to love it. Everyone fell in love with Erica Slaughter. It was gory. It was full of mystery. We got a lot of answers about the house, about Erica. We've been learning about her past and how she got indoctrinated into the House of Slaughter. We've been introduced to this character too, And now we're going to kind of get his origin in here. So, which is fine and cool. And I think in the last couple issues of Something is Killing the Children, they really spent the time to blow the world open so that this book can like slide right in. So, I mean, prior to that, we didn't really know the extent of the houses. We didn't know that different bandanas meant different things. And then even the teeth mean something different. And everybody has a role and a job. And we realize the scope of this place, right? It reminds me of John Wick with like the high table or something like that. They're just kind of everywhere. And they have all different roles and responsibilities. So after they explained all that, this book could easily slide right in. And a story like this that takes place in the first one makes more sense because this is a lot about the internal workings of the different houses. We got white masks and black masks, and we have new recruits mixing in with old recruits and having their problems kind of merged together. We get a little Erica appearance in here. And we have this new character in here, Jace. And so, you know, we're trying to understand what his motives are. He seems like a loner. He's moved in. We're trying to like assimilate him into this faction. And he's surrounded with mystery, and he has like these ulterior motives or objectives while he's here. So I think it's going to be kind of interesting to see where it goes. This book's interesting because, like I said, we had a lot of quick action and gore and immediate positive responses to Something's Killing the Children, and it's severely slowed down. I mean, the last 5 issues or something like that has been all in the past, all talking about the origin of a character we really enjoy, which I think is pretty remarkable that it's able to do that and maintain its popularity. There hasn't been a whole lot of action, killing, giant monsters, blood everywhere, you know, crazy stakes. There's been a little bit of that, but it hasn't been the main point of the book. It's been all character and story driven, which I think is a testament to his writing. And I enjoyed issue number 1. So we'll kind of see where it goes and how it ties in with Something's Killing the Children here soon. So yeah, we are going over to Image. We have a few different books over there. We got Hell Cop Halloween Special. This is the 3D version. So it comes with the little red and blue glasses, which will be cool for the first 10 seconds, and then it will immediately give you a headache. So I will warn you of that. It was like playing Virtual Boy, like the Nintendo Virtual Boy. I don't know how many of you remember that thing. But I was like, yeah, this is really cool, and it's 3D, and this is really great, and I've never experienced this. And then about 5 seconds in, you're like, man, my left eye is just starting to sting, and it's bothering me. So that's the same kind of effect you get here. And if you take the glasses off, everything is distorted and weird. So the art, I couldn't really get the full effect of the art. But essentially, you have these detectives that can travel through dimensions, and they're kind of like bounty hunters in a way, too. This one guy, one of the bounty hunters, he comes across a relic that he doesn't understand, trying to ask different people around if they know what it is, and he kind of gets in trouble having this in his possession, or he's trying to dig around and try to figure this out, but people don't want him digging around, trying to figure out what this artifact is. So, he's kind of having to dig his way out towards the end of this book. So a lot of people are not appreciative of him of sticking his nose in their business. Now, it was a cool, if you're in like detective stories or extra dimensional kind of things, it's kind of a combination of all those. It's kind of interesting. So it was a decent number 1, I think, but I don't know if I'll pick up issue number 2. It didn't really do a whole lot to make me want to keep reading the book. I don't know. We'll see. It might be a hot seat book or a flip through before I buy kind of a book. There had a lot of interesting little premises in here. Like people can be superpowered temporarily. There's like magic in this book too, a little bit, and a lot of unanswered questions, and a lot of interesting dialogue between everybody. I think it was pretty natural dialogue, so nothing was going on really there. So, Hell Cop, not too bad. Wished it was better, but that is okay. Moving on to Jeff Lemire, Andrea Sorrentino, and Dave Stewart. We have Primordial. This is issue number 2. I love these covers. These Sorrentino covers are great. I love them. And then the back is the little dog with a little question mark over his head. So I thought that was pretty cute. So Primordial. So in the first issue, we got the understanding that, we sent up some animals to do some space missions and stuff, or to test out for a space program. So did other parts of the world. And they had a very similar problem that they ran into. They weren't able to come back, or if they did, they were deceased or whatever. And so they called those complete failures. And when they were trying to deconstruct those programs, some evidence was found that maybe some stuff was found, and these animals are still alive. And it's just a giant global cover-up for whatever was actually found out in space. So our main character here is kind of exploring what that means, being introduced to more people. We get an origin of the dog in here. Is it Laika? I believe it is. And we get a little bit of an origin of where that dog came from. And it's presented you in a way that when the dog made contact with whatever this thing is, it kind of tapped into its mind and kind of, my understanding is it kind of read his past. So I thought that was a pretty interesting way of presenting an origin. Not a whole lot here, not a whole lot of dialogue. It's got the Sorrentino weird abstract art. So if you're into that stuff, like the Gideon Falls kinds of stuff, I think you're really going to enjoy this one here. Again, not a whole lot of dialogue. It's a very, very fast read. It's a very nice, visually appealing book for sure. And yeah, we don't get a whole lot of answers. And I think towards the very end here, we do get an understanding of the direction of where this book might be going. Some of the characters have a conversation about what their objective is, what they're trying to accomplish. And so we do get a little heads up about where they're trying to go with this. Nothing too groundbreaking right now, but Primordial, it's beautiful. It's got an interesting, compelling story. And yeah, we'll keep going with it because, that's all we need for a good comic, I guess. All right, we're going over to Echolands. This is issue number 3. I don't know how I'm supposed to hold this book. This is issue number 3. Not like this, like this. And so as we go, this book is fun. It's almost hard to read because there's so many like crossover worlds going on here. Not only the main character and her friends, they're just from all different kinds of lore. You know what I mean? You have the vampire, you have the elven lady, you have the mobster guy, you have her, and then you have like the brutes, and you have all these people. So you're trying to reconcile all that. But then you have just everything else going around in the town too. So your eyes are constantly trying to follow the paneling, which is very creative. But we're 3 books in now, and I don't know. I would say it's not a gimmick, but it's like we're getting used to that now. So it's not as shocking as it was in issue 1 and maybe issue 2. There's a lot to look at in some of these panels. And in this one here, we have a, who can you trust, who can't you trust kind of a thing. They're still on the run. They're kind of overcoming whatever obstacles are in their way. And now we have a friend, we have a foe. We're not sure. We think they're friends. We'll see how it turns out. I don't want to spoil it for you. Kind of intervene here and we kind of get back into another sticky situation here. So I think we're learning the full extent of this antagonist's power set as well. So that's going to be kind of fun to see what's going on. And yeah, we have a little touch base with some other characters that were introduced in the book as well. So I don't know. Echolands is not bad. I feel like we're jumping into a story that was already halfway over, and we have so many relationships and everything that have already been built, and we're just having to accept it and kind of move on, which makes it kind of hard for a reader to start this book. It feels like this is like an issue, 12 or something like that. The way that they presented this, it's like she stole something from this powerful person. She's on the run. We don't quite know why. We don't really know what's going on. And she interacts with all these different people, and they all have history with each other. So it's like you feel almost left out, or I do when I read this book. But it's fun to read, and the art's pretty decent from page to page, and it's creative. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you guys thinking about Echolands in general. And I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I don't know. Maybe the novelty's wearing off a little bit. I don't know. Let me know. All right, the last book we have is Crossover number 9 from Cates and Shaw. So if you've been complaining, like I have, about the last few issues have been kind of filler issues, I think that this one solves that. And maybe it oversolves it, because if I can criticize this book of one thing, it's being dialogue heavy. It is very, very dialogue heavy, and I think that's the point. It's a very meta book. There's lots to talk about. The creators and writing and progressing the plot and things like that. So you never quite know what's tongue in cheek and what's not. And so we have the characters from Powers in here. And so I think the funniest part is this interrogation scene between our main comic female lead, and I don't remember her name, is being kind of interrogated by the 2 characters from Powers. And she immediately knows how this is going to go because she's familiar with that story and that run and everything else. And they have this really interesting dialogue. And then we have a kind of a revelation about this comic book creator killer and what the motivations might be and things like that. And so everyone's trying to trying to figure out if that's actually what's going on, and they're trying to follow those leads. We get some more deaths of some famous comic creators in here, which I think is interesting. And then, of course, we have at the end, which is kind of the theme of these books right now, the very last page is a giant splash page with something that's only going to be relevant if you're extremely familiar with Image Comics in general. So the back splash page in here, I don't know a whole lot about this. And so I'm looking at it going, okay. Kind of like when Powers was introduced. I'm like, okay, I don't know who that is. I mean, when Madman was introduced, I at least knew who he was. And when some other people were introduced, like the God Country sword and stuff like that, I was like, okay, I can see why that would be a cool thing. But I hate when they do this, because it makes you need to know everything to kind of feel the impact of these books. And so if you're not someone who has been reading Image Comics for 25 years, you might not get some of these things. I thought the dialogue was great in this book. It was fun to read, but it was very, very heavy. There's lots of dialogue. So if you criticize the previous books for not having a whole lot of context or a whole lot of text in general, this solves that for sure. So that's what I got on that. So again, if you only had a few books to pick up each week, what would I recommend picking up? I would say a nice little sleeper book was Harbinger. I think that was an interesting book to get. I'm going to say House of Slaughter just because I love Something's Killing the Children, and I thought this was generally a good issue. I think it mirrors the tone of the last few Something's Killing the Children issues. It's not going to take you back to the beginning with lots of blood and gore and action and craziness and questions and stuff. It's going to read more like the recent Something's Killing the Children book. So if you don't mind that, there you go. I think Robin's picking it up a little bit. This is one of my more enjoyable issues over the last few issues. I think, well, what else we got here? What else do we got? Inferno is going to be a great read. I'm not going to, it's an extra large issue and it didn't do a lot to progress the story, but maybe it's just kind of setting us up. I'm not entirely sure. So not a whole lot of bangers this week, I think. This week was pretty heavy, but there wasn't a lot of stuff that just absolutely blew me away. I think Primordial was fun, but it didn't really progress anything too far. So man, if I had to say, if you want to pick up something new and different, pick up Harbinger. If you want something familiar and safe, I would get House of Slaughter. If you want a good next issue in the ongoing series, yeah, I think Robin's pretty good. And then Inferno is probably going to be a safe bet just because of the creative team on this and the history we have behind them. So that's what I got this week. What did you guys pick up this week? Any comments about any of the opinions or thoughts that I had in these books? Any answers that you might want to provide to help me enjoy them more? I really do appreciate that. Always like continuing the conversation down below in the comments. Like, subscribe, share, hit the thumbs up, hit the bell notification for future videos, all that good stuff. Thanks again. We'll see you in the comments.